2021, right, lads? We want to see these big fights, right? This is the year where I think things get better in every aspect, right? Maybe I'm wishful thinking, or maybe not. Maybe it's just me having a good feeling. But I reckon this year we're going to get the big fights. So the big fights I want to see, Taylor Ramirez, right? I want to see that fight. I want to see Undisputed. I would love to see Spence Crawford. A fight a lot of people want to see. The majority of boxing fans want to see. It's one of the biggest fights in UK boxing, probably the biggest fight in UK boxing history. AJ versus Fury. Now, irrespective of whether that fight is for Undisputed or not, it's a massive fight. Undisputed is like the cherry on top of the cake. But, you know, I'm perfectly happy to have my cake without a cherry on top. But we may very well yet get it Undisputed. And I'm going to read this, right? This is from Anthony Joshua. Well, this is actually a quote from Twitter. But Anthony Joshua has revealed, there's no sources as to where, but basically it's been revealed that Anthony Joshua has now reached out to Oleksandr Usyk's team, hoping that the Tyson Fury fight can be for Undisputed. He says, and I quote, "I think Usyk will be keen to step aside and let the fight happen. He's a reasonable person. He'll understand the magnitude of the situation." Now, look, unless there was serious money being involved, he's not just going to step aside. I would imagine that Usyk will step aside if the figures are right. I mean, what AJ is saying there, he's obviously not alluding to the fact that when you step aside, you obviously get free money. Because Usyk would not just look at that and think, you know what, I'll wait for my shot, let's have Undisputed. He's obviously going to want to be compensated. He'd obviously want to make, well, would he want an in-between fight? Maybe he'd want someone tall, because he'd be fighting someone tall anyway. But for this fight to happen for Undisputed, you would imagine that Oleksandr Usyk would want to be well compensated, and he's in a good position to be well compensated. We've had step-asides in the past. I mean, as recent as Callum Smith. Because remember, Callum Smith, before he went into the World Boxing Super Series, he was mandatory for Badou Jack for 2 years. I want to say about 2 years. During which time, Badou Jack had a couple of defenses of his WBC super middleweight title. Callum Smith was perfectly happy to take step-aside money. Now, I'd imagine Callum Smith and Badou Jack at the time, the super middleweight division wasn't really at it in the right home about. So I would imagine that the step-aside money wasn't at it in crazy, but he was still paid to step-aside. I mean, as many fighters would say, it's free money. You know, free money to basically wait, basically. Usyk, depending on how much is offered to him in terms of step aside, I would imagine he's said in the past that he won't take step aside. At the end of the day, everybody has a price. I'm sure if a figure was put to him and it was nice, he'd say, all right, I'll wait. Lennox Lewis, was it 4 million he was paid in the 90s to step aside to let Mike Tyson fight Evander Holyfield? Because I remember when Mike Tyson beat, it was Bruno. I always get mixed up between Selden and Bruno. He beat Selden for the WBA. He beat Bruno for the WBC because Bruno only just won it from McCall the fight before. And I think actually originally, was it? No, I know Lewis took step-aside money, but I'm pretty sure the WBC wasn't on the line at the time. But I know he took step-aside money to let Tyson fight Holyfield. I remember he was mandatory at one stage for them. So it's happened throughout history of boxing. You know, bigger fights have happened, paid a mandatory step-aside money, they're happy. At the end of the day, like if Usyk takes, I'd imagine he would if it's substantial enough. But Undisputed is nice. Obviously, I want to see as many Undisputed champions as I can. But this fight is a big fight. It's a massive fight. It's a huge fight. I hope it happens this year. I hope it happens with fans. I've said in live streams that if this fight does happen this year, I've said at the start of this video I want to be positive about the year, but if we don't have fans by the summer, or we don't have full capacity fans, then I could easily see this going to a different country. That does. Probably to Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that. But I want to see this fight irrespective. Whether it's for Undisputed or not, as I said, the cherry on the cake is Undisputed, but, you know, plenty of people don't need a cherry on top of a cake. They'll take the cake as it is. So, AJ versus Tyson Fury, I hope it happens this year. As a boxing fan, I want to see it. If it's in the UK, I'd go to it. I wouldn't go as a fan, I'd try and get interviews, obviously. But if it was in the UK, I'd go to it. I hope we get to see that fight this year. No, I genuinely, I think that there's a good chance we could see this fight this year. AJ versus Fury. In terms of like Eddie Hearn's name dates like May and stuff like that, I'd be very surprised. I think if we see this fight in 2021, we're looking at the back half of the year. Possibly, now when I say the back half, I mean like maybe September, August. I'm thinking round about then. I can't see them getting this fight over the line in like May, April or May. I can't. That's too soon. I think maybe September, August time be more realistic target. I think, irrespective of where the fight is, I think that just seems like a more realistic target. The only issue you have for Fury is that if he goes into AJ fight this year without having an in between fight, you're essentially talking about what 15, 16 months out of the ring. We've seen Fury out of the ring before, for a prolonged period of time, but that's not been for a while, and you kind of wonder, because before that he was quite active. You know, he obviously had the 3 fights in 2018, he had the 2 fights in 2019, and then obviously he had the Wilder fight at the start of 2020. Obviously he planned on fighting more in 2020, but obviously you know what happened. So you got to wonder about the inactivity, but I just want to see his fight. I think this is a great fight, and depending on what Oleksandr Usyk does, if the money is sufficient, I reckon he'd take the step aside money, personally. But like I said, Undisputed, it is what it is. If we get it, happy. If we don't, so be it. As long as we get to see this fight, I'm keen. I want to see this fight, man. That's what I want to say. Alright, I'm going to leave it here, lads. Hope you all enjoyed it. Smash the like button, lads, if you didn't. It does help out this channel a lot. We want to get to 4K nice and quickly. Smash the like button on your way in or on the way out. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hashtag GMans rocks, all that good stuff. You know me. I'll talk to you, lads. Peace.